Are we good to go?
Yes, Chair, thank you for your patience for a good start.
Okay. Before calling this meeting to order, I'd like to ask that commissioners refrain from using the chat feature on Zoom. All questions should be made publicly unless it's a computer connectivity issue. Thank you. Uncle Des, did you join? Are you able to offer a pule, please?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Let's pull it. No ka mea he keka, he mana ho'i ka ka olelo, a ke akua. He oi nui kona mamua o ka pahi kaua o lua. He o ana ka awale ke ola me ka uhane. Ona ami a me ka lolo, oia ka luna, kana vai. No kano ono o a me kana au. Because of the word of Kiako has power and power, it is greater than that of a double-edged sword. It cuts and separates the life and the soul. Its joints in the brain. It is the judge of the soul and the heart. Amen.
Mahalo.
Me.
Aloha, good morning.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, aloha, good morning.
Aloha mai kako. Good morning, everyone. The hybrid meeting of the Cultural Resource Commission will now come to order. Quorum has been established with 6 members in attendance right now. Today is Wednesday, March 11th, 2026. It is currently 10:17 a.m. I will take this moment just to remind commissioners that the meetings do start at 10, and please try to be here on time if you can. Pursuant to Act 220, Sessions Law of Hawaii 2021, which amended the Sunshine Law to allow meetings to be remotely conducted online effective January 1st, 2022, the Cultural Resources Commission will host a hybrid meeting of online and in-person participants. An in-person location has been identified on the agenda for the public to provide testimony on agenda items and to view the meeting. This meeting can also be viewed live online. A link to the YouTube live stream is provided on the county website. The video recording will remain on the YouTube channel for those who are not able to watch it live. Reports and surveys reviewed during the hearing are available on the county website. Commissioners, please be reminded that only one person may speak at a time. Raise your hand to be recognized if you have a question or comment. Commissioners, please introduce yourselves and name others present at your location, provided those individuals are 18 years or older. I'll start. My name is Matthew Clark. I am the chair. I am alone in my office today. Uncle Des, go ahead.
Yeah, Desmond Haumea, vice chair. I'm here with 2 of my students who has their headphones on, and they're over 18 years old.
Aloha mai, Darty Gamayo here in the Kappa studio. With me is Miss Holly Kay doing some other radio production work with her
Holly.
headphones on.
Hey, Holly.
I'm Janet Six. I'm by myself in the basement of my friend's house.
Aloha, Keloha, Kini here in my office by myself.
I think Aaron, are you here? But I saw Aaron. Sorry, is Aaron here?
Aaron is here. Aaron, if you can come on camera. And we have to try and remain on camera during the meeting for quorum.
And if you can just introduce yourself,
Aaron. See me and hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm in a concrete building. I'll go outside. Aaron Spielman, I'm here by myself. But I'm going to go outside where the public can walk around, so just need to know that.
All right. CRC staff support joining us today are Bethany Morrison, Planning Program Manager. Kim Tanaka, Planner. Catherine Nelson, Temporary Assignment to Board Secretary. Hi, Catherine. Nice to meet you. Jean Campbell, Deputy Corporation Counsel. Okay. Pursuant to HRS 92-3, interested persons who want to provide oral testimony may do so either at the beginning of the meeting when the board takes public statements on the agenda or immediately before the specific agenda item is called. Staff, please indicate if there are any members of the public wishing to provide testimony online or in person.
Chair, we did not get notification of testimony. However, I do see a couple members of our public here, Chuck Flaherty and Jojo Tanimoto. Are you folks wanting to testify?
I would like to testify.
Okay. Would you like to testify before the agenda items?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's 3 minutes, and please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chuck Flaherty, I'm not quite sure. I had called to ask, but I'm not quite sure with regard to my testimony. Basically, I wanted to ensure that the commissioners had received an email that I had sent with regard to a request for an item to be placed on the agenda with regard to Pu'uhau and protections of the Royal Mausoleum of Pu'uhau. So given that that item is not on the agenda, I'm not quite sure how to bring the commission's attention to that matter. I had sent an email with that in August and then again yesterday. So if you could guide me in that, I would appreciate it, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm not aware of the email. Staff, do you have any updates on that?
Yeah, Chair, we did receive it. We just haven't had a chance to distribute it out to the commission members yet, but can do so following this meeting.
Okay, and will it be something we agendize, or is that we need to discuss before the next meeting?
I think, yeah, we can take a look. As Mr. Flaherty had stated, he had requested this in August. And so we need to relook and see if there is something right for the commission to make action on.
Okay. I apologize, Mr. Flaherty. There has been some staff turnover since August, and
Well, I understand. That's why I didn't know exactly how to proceed, but I very much appreciate the opportunity to bring the matter to you.
Okay, I think we will get your email and we'll discuss, and it should be, as long as there's an action item, we can agendize it for next meeting.
Mahalo nui.
Okay, does that complete your testimony?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming and making us aware of that.
This is Jojo.
Hi, Jojo. How are you?
I am
present
wonderful,
testimony now.
What I wanted to do is bring everybody up on what's happening on this end, because I think it's relevant to what you guys are helping us to identify the sites in Kauai High. And so Hawaiian Homes is having a Hawaii Island plan for the next 20 years created. One of the things that happened is we have a fire break that is conducted ongoing without any archaeological surveys or reports or nothing. And maybe it's because it's Hawaiian Homes that they get the chance to say what we want to save as historic sites or we don't want to. So as a matter of record, you're sending a letter to the county planning and it's on this agenda. We really got to appreciate that because we're still trying to move ahead with the national park and all of that. The other thing is the people want to register it, but we're not at that stage yet, so it's going to take us a little bit of time. And lastly is we're working with the unexploded ordnance people because they had blasted the mountainside, the watershed.
Yeah.
And now it's all eroding, but they're expanding the harbor and the erosion goes across the highways. So I don't know if the cargo is going to be going in and out. There's no other alternative route except over the bridge. So, but they don't want to recognize the bridge. So, I don't know, this kind of resource or NAGPRA or whatever, it's not working over here, maybe because it's Hawaiian homelands, but we're trying because that is who we are. Yeah. I mean, our history came from Kamehameha. He was here. So that's where we are over here. And mahalo for your helping. And if you got any ideas that we can try, it really would help us a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Jojo. I can address a little bit that I think just briefly here is we have pulled together some resources for you of prior ARC studies and other cultural reports for the area. And those will be provided to you along with a letter listing them. And I think it should help with some of the background. As for the fire break, I believe that was done by HDOT using emergency fire monies after the Lahaina fire. There was no archaeological report prepared, but there were archaeological monitors on site to help them avoid features when they put that in.
Oh, because I never saw them. I saw the goats, but there was no monitors or nowheres. Only the machinery going up and down this place. So,
oh, if they're doing it now, the original road, when they originally put it in about a year ago, that there were monitors present.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
anyway, thank you for that. And you will get your letter and some more resources. And I keep looking through anytime I come across stuff that might be useful for you. I'm putting it in a folder to save it. And I think the other commissioners are doing the same thing.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I'm passing the word along to the community. So, I'm the one that gets the negative responses first. So I'm just passing it along to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Jojo. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today. That brings us to, well, it says here old business of the commission, but it looks new. I'm not sure. Hawaii Public Housing Authority's 2025 environmental review, repairs to low-income housing projects. This is section 106 consultation regarding potential repair and rehabilitation of housing projects at or nearing 50 years of age. And these look like they are in Kealakekua, Hilo, as well as in Keao. And there's several TMKs listed. Is there anyone here to present this project?
Yes, good morning. My name is Lisa Izumi, representing the Hawaii Public Housing Authority. Thank you, Chairman Clark and the commissioners for having us today. Yes, we're seeking the commission's input as part of our Section 106 consultation for those three projects that you mentioned. And I wanted to introduce Ronald Sato, our consultant from Bowers and Kubota. We're going to cover it more in detail.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I'll try to be fast. I think someone had to leave pretty soon. So basically, you should have had a handout. I'm with Bowers and Kubota. Also with our team is Noah, who's also with Bowers and Kubota, and Annalise. She's with Mason. They're the historic architect working on this. So we're here today, as Lisa mentioned, because we're HPHA is seeking further funding from HUD so that they can implement a program of repair and rehabilitation to housing projects and over the next 5 years. So you should have the handout already. I'm just gonna summarize the highlights and not going through everything. But basically, we're here to get your comments, answer any questions as part of the Section 106 consultation. So with that, I'll start. Basically, we're doing 106 consultation because as part of the HUD requirements, HPHA needs to complete Section 106 consultation so that they can complete NEPA, environmental requirements under the federal. And these repair and rehabilitation programs are basically called CAT-X, basically exempt because they're not considered a major construction activity. So we're doing this consultation for these three housing projects mentioned because they've reached the 50-year threshold for being potentially a historic site. Now, the work is not new construction, it's basically repair and rehabilitation for the housing projects. So things like repairing the roofs, sidewalks, repaving the parking lot, interior repairs, or other utility improvements. So it's really just for repair and renovation work, and that's why it's considered a CADEX, or basically exempt under the federal environmental requirements. But HPHA needs to do this every 5 years as part of their arrangement with HUD. So we're doing this now so that they can get a CADEX. So for the next 5 years, they can fund through federal HUD funding repair and improvements as needed. I think the chair mentioned the 3 housing projects, and you have information on there already. On one of the maps, one of the map is labeled wrong for Hale Ho'okipa. It says Hale Hau'oli, but it should be Hale Ho'okipa and Kealakekua. So I apologize for that. But we had those 3 housing projects are reaching the 50-year threshold. So we had an historic architecture assessment done by Mason. And 2 of the housing sites were determined to have some historical significance. One of them, Hale Aloha Opuna, didn't, because it had undergone extensive repair, renovation over the years, changing. So it doesn't retain the original design historic character features, making it historic. So based upon that, 2 of the other sites are considered historic, and they're in the handout as well, in the pages below, if you want to reference that. As far as archaeology, we took a look at the 3 sites, and because it's really repair and renovation, there's no new construction. We determined that they have a low potential for affecting sites. They're all pretty much developed areas, and again, repaving the sidewalks or resurfacing the parking lot and building improvements shouldn't have a significant impact on potentially subsurface sites. So we consider it's pretty low potential for archaeological effects. So based upon those 2, HPHA has what they're proposing, a no adverse effect for 2 of the housing sites because of the historic architecture significance, and for Hale Aloha Opuna, no effect because it doesn't meet the historic architecture significance right now. So we do have measures for the historic architecture when they do renovation improvements, and they're pretty standard conditions, and they consist of trying to retain the building's historic character and features, having a historic architect, a qualified historic architect, to review the improvements, coordinating with SHPD for review, make sure they meet the Secretary of Interior standards. And then if they cannot be met, then they would have to do 106 consultation again to address necessary measures. But for the most part, HPHA has tried to meet, when they renovate the exterior doors or windows, to meet the criteria so that they're in conformance. So that's basically it. I keep it short. It's basically repair and improvements, renovation work, and we're just doing as part of this, we're doing the 106 consultation to help them complete their NEPA requirements so that they can get HUD funding to implement them. So, Chair, I'll turn it back to you, Commissioners, if you have any questions for us or comments. We appreciate it.
Mahalo, Ronald and Lisa. Thank you for coming and presenting. We'll open up to commissioners. Any questions? And I'll apologize. I looked through the stuff. I did not see the maps in there. I did see the letters, but I don't know if anyone wants to see the maps or where these are, if folks are familiar.
That's what I was looking at.
The maps just include a location map of the housing site, and then a closer aerial view of the site plan, basically identifying the buildings within the housing site.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that it came through in our packet. It came to us, but it sounds basically this is these are needed repairs, fairly minor. There's no off-site work besides the building, so there's not really potential to affect archaeological resources that may be on the parcels.
Right.
And that it looks like they were built in 77, 76 and are barely 50 years old. And obviously need to be kept up for the seniors who are living there. It seems like.
Yes, yes.
And anyone else want to comment or say anything? Go ahead, Uncle Des.
Hi, Ron. Thank you for coming today and for also all your. So is my understanding that Puna will not be restored, renovated?
No. Puna, it doesn't meet the historic character and to be considered historic, but they still have improvements because it has a lot of renovation over the years, to the buildings and whatnot. So it doesn't retain that original character and historic character of the original construction. I mean, the other projects did have renovations as well, but they weren't as many as that one. So they still get, if needed improvements, you'll still get improvements. Yes.
Okay, I just that word historic, yeah. So whose fault was that to provide housing for Kupuna and not fall into that category of historic?
There's certain maybe I'll turn it to Annalise if you wanted to give a quick explanation of there's certain characters that they look to make it qualifying for a historic architecture site. Annalise is Mason. She's our historic architect.
Hi, my name is Annalise Shiraki. Chair, is it okay if I speak?
Yes, please. I'm glad you're here to explain it. That's
okay. So, would you mind just repeating your question one more time so I
Well,
can?
my question was that from what I understand that there's going to be improvements not to the building. The other one was how come the other two fell into a historic category and this was not?
Sure. Okay. So, to meet significance criteria, you have to meet certain historic contexts, and you have to retain integrity. So the other two developments, they do both. They meet certain historic contexts and they retain integrity. Puna did not retain integrity. It's had too many changes, and so it no longer reflects its original design.
Yeah, I figured that one out. But what I'm getting at is I just find it odd that these other two did, and I don't know what type of architectural was it because was it second choice to have a kupuna there, or was it built for a kupuna? Or was it apartment first and then didn't work out? So I'm gonna put kupuna in there because there's funding for their living expenses.
All three developments were originally built as elderly housing.
Okay.
so.
Well, yeah. So what was this different from if they were all built together? Why was this not brought up to that standard? You know what? Let me circle back to that. If you get a funding and there is some improvement to that, but it doesn't fall into the criteria of a historic site, will the other two receive additional funding, or is it fair expenditures by those funding?
No, let me help answer that. So, HPHA, they try to get funding from HUD so that they can implement repairs or renovation to buildings as needed if the roof needs to be repaired. So, as part of that, they have to meet certain HUD requirements, which includes compliance with the federal NEPA. So that's what we're doing as part of it is 106. Now, they're like she mentioned, they're originally constructed for elderly housing, but two of the housing projects still have the original historic their original design. So that's why they're categorized as having that historic quality. So if they do have it, then there's certain minimum measures that we need to comply with. And that's where they try to, if they do improvements to the windows or the doors, they try to retain the character and the style. But because that Aloha Puna has so much renovation already, it doesn't quite meet the original intent, so then they don't have to try to meet the original historic doors or windows character if they have to renovate it or replace the door or the windows. So that's all it is. As far as funding for the projects, you know, it's whenever if they need repairs or renovation work for whatever site work, you know, sidewalk or handrails or whatever interior, you know, they would fund that. Yeah, for whichever.
I understand that. I've dealt with HUD before.
Okay.
But my question is because our family just opened up a kupuna housing down in Kaimu, where there's a lot of kupuna without housing. So if the funding, say for example, gets $3, does Puna get $1? You understand what I'm saying? You understand my
Maybe
trauma, you know?
maybe I can chime in.
Yeah.
So for us, whether or not a site is historic or not, we look at all of our inventory and just see what has to be done at that particular site. And then sometimes we have a mix of federal and state funding. And so sometimes the state might, you know, there might be a legislative silo where they'll say, we're only going to give you money for this particular site. But we as a agency don't say, oh, because this site is historic, you know, we're going to give X amount of money or this site isn't. It's just really more of a guiding document for us so we know what we can and can't, you know, do to a site when we renovate it.
Yes, understand. I understand. I understand the total process.
Yeah.
But I just want to, like I said, we opened up a kupuna housing in Kaimu.
Uncle Des, can I chime in? This is Jean Campbell. Can I chime in a little bit? I'm going to ask you to reflect on whether your concerns are with the historic nature of the building or the funding, the federal funding of the project that's outside the scope of this commission.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, let's stick with the historic nature. And if it's about whether or not the feds are going to fund an elderly housing project, that's outside the scope of this commission.
Right.
And you're obviously welcome to talk with Ronald and Lisa outside the meeting about questions you have about that. But I'd ask that we stick to the things that CRC gets to have an opinion on.
I understand that.
Thanks.
At least I got it on the record.
Got it.
Yeah, there's my concern is the funding. If we get equal shares, because one has fell into that one category and Puna did not. But I think I've exhausted that subject. I understand where this is going. So thank you to Annalise, Ronald, and to
Lisa.
And Noah. Mahalo, thank you.
Thank you, Uncle Des. Commissioners, any other questions regarding this? If I don't see any hands up. And there's no members of the public that would like to provide testimony on this at this time. So I think we can move on to making a motion. And the appropriate motions would be to have a staff prepare a letter summarizing our comments for my review and approval. And it sounds like the comments were mostly just questions about how the funding is going to be spent on these buildings. I don't think no one expressed concerns about effects on historic properties or anything like that. Is that? Yeah, I don't see any commissioners raising their hand. So we can either have the staff prepare a letter that I approve, or we can have the staff prepare a letter that would come back to the next meeting where we could approve it and send it out together. I think I would lean towards the first because this seems like a minor undertaking. Go ahead, Uncle Des.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to for staff to prepare a letter for your signature.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do we have a second on that motion?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Haumea, seconded by Commissioner Gamayo.
Hey, Chair, this is staff.
Yeah.
Just asking for a little bit of clarification for what the contents of the letter will be related to the section 106.
I think the letter would be that thank you for coming to the CRC. We really have no comment on this. And the repairs seem relatively minor and appropriate, would be, unless anyone else from the commission like to chime in.
I just had one point of clarity, Matt, that I just wanted to ask, just to be clear, from what I read, there was going to be no adverse effect, and then I just wanted to, um, I asked Aaron, being that he's an architectural person, if he saw anything in there that we should be aware of, and I don't know if we're allowed to do that. Ask other commissioners questions too, based on his reading. But from what I read, there was no adverse, impacts that would be expected from this project. So I just want to make sure I'm reading that correctly. And I didn't see anything, but if there are other insights, I'd appreciate hearing them.
Yeah. Commissioner Spielman, would you like to chime in on that?
Sure. At this time, I don't have any comments. I also serve as the acting building chief, and I seem to recall there was a permit that came in for Hale'opuna. I may have the names mixed up. I may be incorrect. It would have been last year. So I'm at least aware that if that did come through and it was permitted and inspected, at least that I'm kind of familiar with that. I think it's single story standalone units for elderly housing. But I didn't have any issues. I mean, basically SHPD regulates this historic structure stuff, and the no effect is what we look for. That's what I would be concerned with. So with the no effect, then I don't see any issues. I understand the difficulty in the Hale'opuna with the renovations over time. I think the only thing that could be done to bring it back to historic nature would be a remodel to revert it to the original, style or look or construction. But that might just be a lot of work, and then maybe people have to be displaced. So I'm sure there's a reason not to do that, and I would defer to the architects. Mason Architecture has been around a long time. They clearly know what they're doing with historic structures, and yeah, I would support the motion as noted.
Thank you, Commissioner Spielman. And yeah, just to reiterate, this process is overseen by the SHPO State Historic Preservation Officer, and it looks like these guys are going through the whole process and will follow the guidelines for whatever is required of them. So I guess that could be part of our motion, is just to please follow the SHPO guidelines, and I don't have anything else to add there unless. Kayla, does that cover are you satisfied?
Yeah.
Okay. Staff, are you good with the guidance there?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just needed a little more, content to add to that letter. We can drop that now. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to have the staff prepare a letter for my signature and approval. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. The ayes have it. So we will be preparing a letter in regards to your Section 106 consultation. I'll sign that, and it'll get to you, should be within the next month.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners, for your comment and your time. Given the weather conditions, we're really happy to have this meeting. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming to us, and we appreciate it. I think we're moving on to the next. Uncle Des has requested just a short break, and I am happy to give a 5-minute break and then we'll come back for administrative matters. Is that all right? Okay, thank you. Uncle Des will take a short break.
Thank you, Chair. Noted.
I move to reconvene. Thanks, Gene.
My uncle says they're taking a break, so they're going to reconvene at 10:55.
Mahalo. Mahalo, Mr. Chair.
Is everyone back? Are we good to go?
One more minute.
Yes, Chair, it looks like you have quorum.
Okay, thank you. Reconvening. We're moving on to administrative matters. I believe Dean Campbell has a presentation on the Sunshine Law training.
Yes, good morning, everybody. The staff asked me to give you a little bit of additional training, or sort of a refresher, I think, for most all of you on Sunshine Law. And I'm going to keep it really brief because Sunshine is not the most exciting stuff in the world. So I have a short, I think it's only 13 slide, 12-ish slide PowerPoint that I'm going to, because I am not the most technological person, I'm going to have the staff share with us so that you can follow along. So basically, I think all of you know the Sunshine Law is a state statute that requires, among other things, all of your meetings to be conducted in public. And that's the overriding reason that we have the Sunshine Law, and the way that the Sunshine Law is interpreted is we always aim for open meetings rather than stuff being hidden from the public. So staff, can I ask you to pull up that PowerPoint when you're ready?
Yeah, 1 second, Jean. We had a technical. We got to allow sharing before we can share. So
Got it.
1 second.
That's why I have you do this rather than me. Okay, there we go. So anyway, welcome to your Basics of Sunshine Law. If anybody cares, it is Chapter 92 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes. Next slide. And this will interrupt me if you have questions. My guess is you probably don't have a lot of questions, but there we go. So as I mentioned, I'm going to keep this really brief and keep it only to matters that I really thought were of most concern to you guys as commission members. There's an awful lot of other sunshine requirements that the staff takes care of for you in the background. And so the Office of Information Practices is a state office, and they essentially oversee all of our operations statewide and our compliance with the Sunshine Law. And their website is very, very helpful. There's just a ton of good information on there. So if you Google state or Hawaii OIP, they will come right up, and we can provide you with this this sheet with the links to various different things, should you want to look into any of this further. And of course, at any point, if anybody has questions during a meeting, outside of a meeting, you're always welcome to reach out to me. So the basic, most important thing for you guys as board members is that under the Sunshine Law, board members can discuss board business only as part of a properly noticed meeting, unless it's a permitted interaction outside of a meeting, or some other exception applies. And so the big questions about that are, who are your board members?
Sorry, just 1 second. We got to get our technology in sync. Give me a minute. We have the timings are showing up. So let me change that.
Yeah. I'm going to blather on about this slide, and really the compliance with exactly my talking in the slides is not critical. So anyway, you guys are obviously the board members, and you are the ones who are subject to Sunshine. Board business is anything that is on your agenda or is likely to be on your agenda in the relatively near future. So pretty much everything is fine. And you guys are not allowed to talk about board business except if that interaction fits in one of the exceptions in the law outside of a meeting. And as I mentioned, the staff takes care of the properly noticed part of it, so you guys don't need to worry about that. But as you know, your agenda gets posted 6 days in advance of the meeting. And if the staff, somehow doesn't have that happen, then the meeting wouldn't happen. But thankfully we have a great staff and they do that for you. So yeah, board business is stuff that you are going to be talking about. Obviously you're all human beings, and you have things in your lives outside of board business, and you are welcome to talk to one another, even in a group, about non-board business. So, the weather, football, kids, whatever, those things you are obviously free to talk about, even as a group outside of a meeting. But if it's board business, it should only be taking place inside of a meeting. So next slide, if we could. Obviously, you are a board or commission that the Sunshine Law applies to. And let's see, I don't think there's a whole lot in this slide that we really care about. Yeah, so it's pretty clear it does apply to you. I guess the one thing that is notable is it does not apply to the courts, and it does not apply to the state legislature, who wrote this law and subjected all of the rest of us to it, but not themselves. So that's my own slight personal commentary I always have to insert here. And one of the things that I always encourage people my boards and commissions to think about is it can be very, very frustrating for our boards and commissions to comply with the Sunshine Law. And I always encourage everybody to think about, imagine whatever government group who you trust the very, very least, and think about the application of this law to them. And then you'll see that there's good reasons for it. It feels, when you're struggling to comply with it at times, it feels like everybody is suspicious of you and thinking you're doing terrible backroom deals when you're obviously not. But again, if you think about whoever it is in the government that you trust the least, and think about the application of this law to that body, it gets a little bit easier to understand why we have it and what we're doing with it. So next slide. You guys have generally chosen to conduct your meetings as remote meetings. And, as of, I guess, about 6 years ago, we went into these remote meetings as more of a possibility. So the law changed to allow for that. And you guys have built into your quorum and your regular practices. Good job complying with all these things. So this is why the chair asks everybody to be on camera, because technically if you're in the Zoom, but you're not visible on camera, you do not count towards quorum. And so that's why the staff and I are always reminding people when we're close to the edge of quorum, every time somebody drops off of visibility, technically we lose quorum if that's the case. Obviously, if you have more than 5 of you attending and somebody's camera is off, so long as we're still meeting quorum, we're fine. But it's on those days when we're at the edge of quorum that having your camera on is important. The law also requires that you identify people who are with you. Let's see. Yeah. I guess this slide doesn't tell us that, but the law does require that you identify the people who are with you. If they're under 18, you don't have to identify them by name. And the idea behind that is if your microphone is off and you're obviously having a conversation, people kind of know who are you talking to? What's going on? It's just about transparency. If our connection gets lost for some reason, we have 30 minutes under the law to try and get it reconnected. And if that can't happen, then the meeting has to be stopped. Board members do need to allow public testifiers to be visible. That's a new addition to the law as of a year and a half or so ago. People are not required to testifiers are not required to turn their cameras on, but if they would like to be visible, we do need to let them be visible. That said, if you have a public testifier or presenter or a non-board member, or even, I suppose, even a board member who gets, unruly and, and won't comply and whatnot, you are allowed to remove them from the meeting. You're also allowed to terminate the meeting early if you need to, if things really get out of hand. Thankfully, this group has not had that kind of problem. So yay. And thank you to the staff for continuing to provide good scripts to our chair to work on those introductory matters. Alrighty, next slide. Who can come to your meetings? Everybody. Everybody can always come. Again, if somebody is being unruly, you can kick them out. And people are allowed to record this. Obviously, the planning department, in conducting a Zoom meeting for you, is recording, and it's streamed live on YouTube. Somebody else can also record that if they want to. I guess the one other thing that I would mention here about public attendance and public testimony is you are allowed to limit the duration of public testimony if you want to. If you watch many of our other boards and commissions and the county council, public testifiers are often given only 3 minutes to provide their testimony. That's not a practice that I've seen much at this group. You guys have been, I think, in two things. One, very open to listening to what your testifiers are saying to you, and also you haven't necessarily had such an inundation of people wanting to tell you things all at the same time that it eats up tremendous amounts of your committee meeting time. So, but if you did have either of those situations, or I guess if you did have too many testifiers, you needed to limit their time, you are allowed to do that. Let's see. Okay, next slide. This is really technically more a reminder for the board staff, but this also lets you guys know that your board packet comes out 3 days before the meeting. Your agenda gets published 6 days out. Your full board packet gets published 3 days out. And then next slide, the public testimony, we do not limit by deadline. So public testimony can come in up to, the moment before your meeting starts, and the staff is allowed to the extent that they can get it to you, get your public testimony to you after the board packet deadline. So next slide. So regarding public testimony, you always have to allow public testimony. And as you've seen in your script, your chair always asks, would people like to testify either at the beginning of the meeting or immediately prior to the agenda item itself? And we give them either of those choices. We can't tell them it has to be one or the other. You can take testimony on non-agenda items, although it's not a good idea because really the idea of the Sunshine Law and that agenda being posted and whatnot is that the public should be able to look at that agenda and know what you're going to be talking about, what you're going to be hearing about, and be able to decide whether they want to come to the meeting based on that agenda. And so if you take too much public testimony on non-agenda items, it does limit the public's ability to know what's going on in your meetings. And obviously that's why you guys aren't allowed to have discussion about non-agenda items, because the public had no notice and they, somebody might have been interested in that. They may have taken a look at your agenda and said, oh, they're not going to be talking about XYZ. And then it turns out you were talking about XYZ and we've taken away their ability to come and participate. We can't, as I mentioned, we cannot require pre-registration for public testifiers. We can ask as a courtesy from them if they would like to pre-register, but we cannot make it a requirement. We can limit testimony to relevant matters, to polite speech and whatnot, or at least civil discourse, and time limits. And then we cannot, as I mentioned on the first thing, we can't limit it to only at the start of the meeting. Okay, next slide. You can't, so if we were to have an instance where we had called a meeting and it turns out, for whatever reason, all of a sudden we can't hold that meeting, but we say we don't have quorum, right? We've got 4 commissioners here, but that's all. You can take public testimony. So if people had showed up to your meeting, wanted to tell you something, but you're not going to be able to hold the meeting, you can take that public testimony so that you don't have to force them to come back. If you do so, obviously you can't have any deliberation or decision-making about that matter because you're not really holding a meeting, but you can take that testimony and you just, the members who are present turn around and essentially report it back at the next meeting so that the people who were not here would have notice of what happened and have that information. Next slide. So the permitted interactions outside of a meeting. This is the other thing that, I know this group has really struggled with. And this slide and the following slide is, they're kind of taken straight out of the law. In the law, there's a list of permitted interactions outside of your meeting that are allowed to take place. And so I'm just kind of ramble at you on this one. The main things that really limit your interactions outside of a meeting are you can't be conducting board business outside of a meeting. And to the extent that you do create situations where you're doing something outside of one of our regular meetings, it's gotta fit in this framework. So you can form permitted interaction groups to do that, to look into a certain task. So that's a 3-meeting process. And that's the second item there on this list. You can, in your first of those 3 meetings, the group as a whole will decide what the task is. So you articulate, the work that this permitted interaction group is going to do, and you identify the members and you send them off to go do that work. They go off, they do their work, they, whatever the task was they were assigned to do. That group can be up to 1 less person than your quorum. So in your case, it could be up to 4 people. They go out, they do their work. The second meeting in that process, they report back. So whatever, whether it was come up with a position on something, go out and investigate something, whatever, they come back at that second meeting and they report back. At that second meeting, there's no discussion. And then at a third meeting, the group as a whole can discuss the report. And again, the idea being that nobody knows what's going to be in that report, and the public doesn't have the ability without pre-notice of what's going to be in that report, just like the other commissioners. Nobody knows exactly what's going to be in that report. So it's inappropriate for the group to be discussing that without making it public first. So that's why you have the second and third meeting. Second meeting, report back. Third meeting, everybody, the group can discuss what's going on out there. You can't, and That is how other groups do site visits at times. They will create permitted interaction groups to go out and do things. That unfortunately does not let everybody go to a site visit. You can hold a public meeting at a site. The difficulty of doing that is it is a public meeting and the whole public gets to come along. So I know that's one of the things this group has struggled with, is wanting to do site visits to be able to see places, and it's so much more meaningful to be on the ground in an area. It's a little difficult because the staff has to essentially hold that public meeting on site wherever we are if you're going to do that. Unless it's an emergency meeting, and to be honest, I would be hard pressed to come up with an emergency that this group has to deal with that would allow us to have an emergency meeting, on site someplace. The other thing that I'm going to just throw out here with regard to permitted interactions is you are allowed to talk to some degree about some, kind of limited board business stuff, just tossing ideas around one-on-one outside of a meeting. But you need to be very careful that you don't come to any kind of agreement about how you're going to vote or a position that you're going to take in that discussion. And the really important thing about that is you are not allowed to have serial communications that let you conduct board business outside of a meeting. So for example, if Matt were to talk to Aaron about something, and then Matt were to talk to Uncle Des, and then Matt talks to Janet, and Matt talks to Darday, you've got a serial communication. Or, like the old telephone game, Matt talked to Aaron talked to Janet, and pass it on down the line. We got to make sure that we don't do that. So on the whole, our recommendation is we really just don't talk about board business outside of a meeting. So I'm going to say we can just skip past that next slide, which is really just the second half of the list of things that's in the law there. And really the last one is there are actual consequences of violating the Sunshine Law. Sometimes they are minor and you just have to do something over again, but a willful violation is actually, in fact, a misdemeanor. I don't have any expectation that anybody here is going to get in trouble under this, but as your legal counsel, it is my job to let you know that there are actually consequences for some of these things if you're really intentionally doing it wrong. I don't expect to see that at all. So anyway, that is Sunshine Law in a nutshell, and I think we can be sharing screen. If anybody has questions, I'm happy to answer them now. Again, you're always welcome to reach out outside of a meeting if you actually have questions about Sunshine Law or anything else.
Apology, I think I violated the Sunshine Law. I didn't state their names of my students above 18. Should I get an attorney?
It was not, I'm going to say for now, that was not a willful violation.
Okay, well, it was Luke and Michael Respicio, so.
There you go. My approach to kind of corralling you guys and making sure that you comply with as much as we can is I don't think it's helpful for me to be absolutely insistent that you do absolutely everything 100% correct all of the time. And so that's why I noticed that you said you had 2 people with you, and it has actually been the practice of this group to not necessarily announce the names of the people who are with them. Technically, yes, that is a violation. I didn't feel that was something that was I needed to jump in and force you to do that. Technically, however, you should all be letting us know, unless it's somebody who's under 18, in which case you could just say, I have my son with me, for example, or whatever.
Mahalo, thank you.
Yeah.
I thought I was on this wide road. It's a really narrow street now.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. Mahalo for that, though.
And with that, I think that's maybe all I have, and I'll give it back to you.
I just have one more. I really appreciate you here, Dean, because, I sit on the Borough Council, and the AJs is never there, so it gets all out of control. But I appreciate you hearing.
I enjoy spending time with you all, and you guys do interesting and really important work, and so happy to support you.
Are we? I gotta take a pause. I have somebody at the door at the studio. Can we take a quick pause?
That's fine with me. We're almost done. Can we just hold on, or do you need a few minutes?
How much longer are you?
We're probably done in 5 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. I can wait.
Oh, you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, go open the door.
Okay. Well, yeah, let's just move on. Thank you, Jean. I echo Uncle Dez's sentiments. We really appreciate you having here and keeping us in order. And I think the takeaway is you better be careful and follow the sunshine laws, or you could end up in jail. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Cultural Resource Commission meeting held on February 11th, 2026?
I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
Can I get a second, please?
I'll second that.
It was moved by Commissioner Gamayo and seconded by Commissioner Haumea. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Minutes approved as circulated. Any planning department staff updates?
We do. Thank you, Chair. So I recently attended a meeting that State Historic Preservation Division staff were in attendance. So I have some updates from that meeting. The first one is the SHPD is considering hosting a training for commissioners and COG staff, if feasible. This training would cover COGs, what that designation means, how to access grants, etc. It would cover Sunshine Law, Robert's Rules and Order, and meeting decorum. And we'll keep you posted as details are released. So that training they're talking about putting it on with the monies that they have from position vacancies. So we will find out more. SHPD is also in the process of updating their Hawaii State Historic Preservation Plan. And the CRC is going to be given an opportunity to comment when that draft plan is released. So in the meantime, it may be helpful for commissioners to take time to review the current plan, which is the 2012 to 2017 plan. And I can send you the link to that document after this meeting if you would like.
Yes, please.
Okay. And then in February, the State of Hawaii Department of Transportation released a statement regarding misspellings and incorrect Hawaiian diacritical marks in street names across the state. Apparently, there are many. So the department is requesting the public's feedback to help clean up the list. So I can send that over to you as well so that you can provide feedback to HDOT. Okay, and then finally, similar to recruitment of new CRC members, the Hawaii Historic Review Board faces challenges when filling their seats. So if any of you, once you're done, no, actually, I think they can at the same time sit on that board. And if you're interested in doing that, let me know when I can send your information to SHPD. And that's all I got for you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Okay. Unless there's anything else, the next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, April 8th, 2026. Staff, any additional announcements? No.
No other announcements, Chair.
I just want to let you guys know I'm not going to be at that next meeting. It's Merry Monarch Week.
Oh, that's right. I won't be there too.
We should get a count ahead of time, and maybe we could adjust the date still, or we may need to postpone that meeting till May.
Yeah, we can work on that right after this meeting to see if there is a potential for quorum or if we need to reschedule. If we do need to reschedule, do you folks have preference of like maybe the 15th?
Anytime after Merry Monarch Week is fine with me, just not during that week.
Okay, we'll work with communicating with the members to figure out what quorum and potential rescheduling looks like.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Okay, this concludes the items on this agenda. Can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Do I need to? I move to adjourn. Adjourn.
Second?
I'll second. This is Commissioner Spielman.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aloha.
This
Aye.
meeting is adjourned at 11:21 a.m.
Thank you, everyone. Aloha.
See you next time.
Aloha.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. So just for your guys' information, I have LUC on the 22nd.
Okay, thank you, Jean.
Alrighty, bye.
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 Thanks for the tech support.
Thank you.